Guys, my name's Trey Knight, and I've spent the last few years in the network marketing industry, and over the course of that time had a lot of success in the industry. Got started about 5 or 6 years ago, really not because I was looking for the industry, but the industry found me at a time when the economy had slowed down. I came out of corporate America, 15 years doing turnarounds and restructurings for major companies, and what I was looking for was a way to go out and drive income, like most of you at some point when you started your journey in the industry, looking to drive income into my household. And I sat down in a living room one day and watched a presentation very similar to what many of you did, and I just saw a business opportunity, and I saw one that looked like the average person could do, not taken away from anything they were already doing, and it was a way on a part-time basis that they could begin to build income. And for me it was even more important because I really saw an opportunity where it didn't look like I had to go out and invest a lot of capital in doing it. What I did for a living, we raised millions of dollars for a company, and they went out and bought assets and employees. And what I realized at a time when the economy was shrinking and deals couldn't get done, people couldn't do that. And so if you could get involved with something and it was a small investment, help you get started, and you could get that money paid back very quickly and go out and generate an income stream, it just seemed like a no-brainer to me. And we did. We got started. Built 2 big teams. We've gone to the top of multiple compensation plans in a very short amount of time. But the challenge for me and why this story, why what I'm getting ready to tell you over the next few minutes is so valuable is because what I saw in those opportunities were people not having the same success. People that couldn't duplicate what a few people were able to do. And everybody came into the industry for the same reasons. They came in looking to change their lives, to make some extra money. And what I saw was a way in which, an industry that didn't accommodate success for the average person. And so over the course of time, we watched our company go through some changes. Like most companies, I'm sure you've all been a part of it, where some companies come in, made a lot of promises, and all of a sudden changed the comp plan. The products didn't work out, whatever the case was. And we started looking for a way to bring people into a new opportunity. What I really wanted to do was go find the next kind of evolvement of this industry, if that's a good word to use. And the way we looked at doing that is I just said, you know what, there's got to be a company out there who the average person, without the kind of superstar skill sets that many of you have, can go out, get involved in an opportunity to whatever level they want to do, but to have enough success that they'll stay in the industry. And I couldn't understand why. I mean, the industry is made up of probably 5% of the population actually get involved in the industry, number one. And of that 5%, there's probably somewhere between an 80 and 90% fallout or attrition rate. I mean, people get in, 90 days later, 6 months later, you've all experienced it, becomes this revolving door, and you can't keep people in the business. And so we started looking at really evaluating why that was. That became more of a mission for me than what was the next company, what was the next hot product, what was the next cool comp plan. I didn't really care about that. I wanted to know, because in my mind, if you're going to build a big business out here, you've got to be able to get people, number one, into the industry. And that's hard because of some of the challenges with the reputation of the industry over time. And then you had to be able to get them started in the industry and keep them in long enough for them to figure out that they could be successful here. So if those were the challenges keeping people, I mean, if you think about it, most people don't like to do what? There's 3 things in my mind that limit people's success out here. And one of them is people don't like to recruit, or they don't like to sell things. I mean, for most people, it's kind of like death, public speaking, and selling stuff in that order. And if that was the case, then you had to find a way to help people overcome that biggest fear. Number 2 is the auto ship. In an economy that's slowed down, people paying $30, $40 for whatever, water, juice, pills, lotion, potion, that just isn't going to be a recurring factor because it becomes a burden at some point. I mean, think about it this way. If people come in and they don't have success building a business, and all of a sudden they've got this auto ship, which is really they're buying something that prior to seeing the opportunity, they weren't buying, with the intent that that product's going to be a benefit to them, and there's a business opportunity that will allow them to make some extra money and kind of offset the cost of that product. Well, the industry, if you don't like to recruit, sell things, and you get involved in the industry and all of a sudden the auto ship's there, now that obviously becomes what? It becomes a burden. It becomes just another bill factored into their lives in a time where people are having to make choices. Pay the light bill, pay the car bill, pay the house bill, or pay the auto ship. They click off the auto ship and they're gone. And so what I saw was just a revolving door. And then the reputation of the industry over time has been mixed, although over the last couple of years, it's gotten a lot better. I think it's gotten a lot better because of the caliber of people that are coming. Not because they wanted to, just like you and I, It's because the world has changed so much that they've been forced out of their comfort box and they've had to go look for other ways to generate income streams. And the network marketing industry, even though it's not their first choice, it ends up being a second or third choice, and so they get involved in it. And the challenge is, though, is the way in which we introduce them. So as we started looking at what we were going to do in the next company, I spent, I don't know, close to a year looking at different companies. And over the course of that year, we probably looked at 17 or 18 companies until I realized that there was no company around today, in my opinion, that overcame those three things, those three obstacles that we talked about. And so in my mind, I said, you know what, if I can't get them in and I can't keep them in, then I can't build the kind of big business that we all talk about and walk away someday, retire from. And so we just started looking at how can you go out and do that if there's no existing company that can. How do you go out and do that? Well, in the course of our search of those companies, I found a company or met a company, got involved with a company called LIMU. And when I met the guys at LIMU, Gary Racer and those guys, I saw a company that understood what it was to go create a new vision. But the challenge for me at the time when I saw them well over a year ago was that it was a great product, great team, great people, but the challenge for me was it was still that traditional compensation plan that doesn't let the average person have the success in my mindset. And so over the course of the year, I kind of watched the company, and I got a phone call from Gary probably 3-4 months ago. And Gary's conversation to me was, he said, Trey, I want to change this. I want to be one of those next generations of companies. I don't want to be just another Me Too network marketing company that has this kind of revolving door issue. And so he and I started talking about it, and we sat down one day, and Gary had already been way down the path of reinventing his company. And I said, you know what, Gary, there's three things that we've got to overcome, and one of those, very specific, is you got to be able to bring people to the industry that today are not in the industry. You know, I talked about that 5% of the population. The key for me is if 5% of the population are in network marketing and they like network marketing, but yet there's all these companies. There's way more companies than there are quality leaders to go build in those companies. And so if you're going to build a next generation company, you got to figure out how to bring mainstream America into the business. And in order to bring them into the business, there had to be a new way, because quite honestly, most people today aren't showing up at the Holiday Inn at 7 o'clock for some network marketing meeting. In their mind, there's all kinds of preconceived notions about that. And so we started talking about, you know, what kind of company out there, who's been able to create something in this down economy that's kind of special. And there is a company out there, guys, that absolutely in my mind went viral. Many of you, when I mention their name, are going to understand what I'm talking about. And they weren't in the industry, but what they had created was this viral effect. They have created a new way to go out and not go out and get network marketers, but to go out and get customers. And see, what's important about that, if you've got a down economy and people aren't writing checks and staying on auto ship, then what is the one way to grow a business? Most companies will tell you, well, we're going to go out and launch new products. Launching new products is not a way to go out. It's a way to go out and implode your business. I mean, every company that I was associated with, when things got bad or when growth started to slow, the first thing they did was create a new product. But if you're creating a new product, that's not bringing new people into the industry and into your business. You're just creating another product to sell into an existing distributor base. Well, if that's all you're doing, only thing that's happening is your people are going from this product and writing checks in on auto ship. They're stopping this to go buy the new product. And typically the new products in the industry were lower margin products. And so that even created a worse situation in the industry. And so what we said was very simple. We said, if you're going to grow the business, what's the fastest way to go grow the business? If the industry hasn't been changed yet and network marketers aren't there and available to come do this, what's the best way to go grow this thing? It was customers. If I could go get customers, I could grow my revenue in advance of or above and beyond the distributor base. And so the mission became, okay, how do you go bring customers into this industry? Not promoters, not network marketers, not people wanting to do the business. How do you go get customers? Customers are people who would take the product even if they couldn't make money in the business. That was the mindset that we went through. And so we started looking around, and here's the deal. There is a company out there, even in a down economy, that went viral. People were buying, matter of fact, people in our company were buying and using this product as part of a ongoing, even bigger deal with our existing products. They were using this as another method of getting in shape, feeling better, and looking better. And when I say it, you'll recognize real quick, but it's a company called P90X. And the cool story about P90X is that went viral not with them selling P90X. They were selling something completely different. They were bringing people, and I'm a great example of it. You know, I sat on my living room couch one night in North Carolina watching TV. It's late at night, eating potato chips, drinking Coke, and you know, P90X comes on, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, wow, it looks like a Navy SEAL workout routine. And no way I'm going to do that. Right up until the point the guy said, and this is the thing, he said, check this out though. Before picture, kind of looked like me sitting on the couch eating potato chips. After picture. And all of a sudden, I saw a picture of a guy, same guy, but he was ripped, looked good, felt better. Here's what they said though. You can do that in 90 days. All of a sudden, the light bulbs went on. Because I realized that people were getting off their couch and buying that product, and they were doing it because of the what? 90 days. If you could transform your body, change your life, or do anything in 90 days, almost everybody was willing to try that. What were we looking for? We wanted to bring customers into the industry. Why? Because once we got them in, and the same thing with that company, once they got them in and got them hooked, and it worked, it became viral. All of a sudden, they show up outside somewhere, they go to church, they go to school, they go to work. People look at them and say, holy cow, you look incredible. What are you doing? Well, I got this thing called peanut. How do I get it? All right? It became this referral, viral kind of deal. And so we said, all right, if we're going to draw customers in, and we've got these phenomenal products, I mean, life-changing products, but we can't, you know, as we're selling them in a traditional network marketing model, we've got this limitation of 5% of the population. I want to go after mainstream America. How do I do it? We're going to create something completely unique. We're going to do a paradigm shift in the industry. We're going to create, quote unquote, an experience, a 90-day experience. What did that mean? What does that mean? Well, that means you're not signing somebody up into the business initially. You're bringing them in simply to introduce them to our products. And so that's what we started doing. We started rolling out experience parties. And over the course of time, people started getting involved and trying the products. Now think about the psychology of that. If you get on the, even if you didn't want to be a network marketer, you said, no way, I'm not going to do that. I don't want to be in the industry. Because for you guys, you're builders. You understand how to do this. For most people, they don't want to do it. But how many people out there trying to lose weight, feel better, get in shape, and they're writing checks every single day to do it? Those products don't work. Or if they do work, they work on a limited basis. And so what we decided to do is we decided to create this thing called the LIMU Experience. What it is, guys, is just a 90-day experience. Why is that important to you? Some people say, okay, so what happens after 90 days? Well, here's the deal. The same thing that happens with anything after 90 days. If you're getting involved in this experience, and all of a sudden you're starting to have a transformation, okay, that transformation will warrant you to do other things to create lifestyle changes that will also allow you to further whatever it was you were trying to do. Lose weight, get in shape, feel better, you know, whatever the case may be. Want some more energy. We got all those kind of products that help you do that stuff. And so psychology-wise, here's the key to our business. We wanted to change the way in which people looked at the industry, because the challenge for us was people were coming in, they weren't having success, and they were leaving. Didn't like to recruit, there was a burden of auto ship, and the industry had a reputation. So if I've created a LIMU experience, and an experience, and you can see that in some of our training videos, experience party is just you inviting 5, 10, 15 people over to your house and letting them try the product. Why are they trying the product? Because of what you experienced on the 90-day experience. You got involved with our meal replacement, great product. All of a sudden you drank it, privacy of your home, replace 1 meal a day with a shake, and now all of a sudden you've lost 10 or 15 pounds. Well, I don't have to be a rocket science. I walk out, if I'm a stay-at-home mom, go out the school bus, you know, 30, 60 days later, and all of a sudden all the other moms are standing there. What's the first words out of their mouth? What are you doing? Right? What's going on? What are you doing? You look great. Well, I got on this product, got on this shake. Replace 1 meal a day with a shake. It's delicious, tastes good, great nutrition. By the way, I'm saving money because I'm replacing my existing food allowance. I'm saving some money, and all of a sudden, what do all the other moms say? How do I get it? All right, psychology change, guys. You're no longer trying to convince somebody that doesn't want to recruit. You're getting them in on a 90-day experience. They have a transformation. People begin to ask them what's happening, and now all of a sudden, how much easier is it for the average person, not you guys, but for the average person that makes up 90% of your business, how much easier is it for you to tell them what you're doing, all right, because they prompted the question versus me telling you to form a list and start cold calling people and ask them if they want to get involved in a business. And so we created natural network marketing. Why is that important? Because everybody can do it. So all of a sudden, this stay-at-home mom is inviting people to try the product. They start getting on the product. And the cool thing about that experience is now all of a sudden she's got 2 or 3 people who are using the product. Nobody's talked about network marketing. Nobody's talked about any of that stuff. Mainstream America is now doing the product. Well, we took it one step further. We said, you know what, that number 2 thing that's kind of a burden, it's called auto ship. It's, you know, 100, 150, 60, whatever the auto ship is, it's a bill that everybody's writing every month. So here's the challenge for me. How do I get rid of that bill for people? I mean, if the 3 things are, and we just overcame the first one, now number 2 is auto ship, how do I get rid of that auto ship? Well, it was simple. We just said, you know what? We need to get people their product for free. Well, free? How do you make money on free? Well, it's simple. A lot of people will come and use the products. The quality of these products, there's a recurring customer base for these products. A lot of those recurring customer base aren't network marketers. So they're buying the product. So if a person could go out and get 3 people to get on the product, to do what they were doing, okay? Those people are not promoters. They're not getting paid commissions. They're just simply consuming the product. We could give that person who brought those 3 customers their product for free. And the light bulbs went off. We said, you know what? We're going to create an absolute paradigm shift in the industry. And that's where we launched this business. So that gives you a little bit of the story of kind of who we are and why we came to the model that you're getting ready to see today. So now that we've kind of explained, you know, the psychology behind the reinvention of the company, what I want to go back and kind of touch on is the company itself. And the LIMU company is a 7-year-old, debt-free, profitable company. And it's been that way pretty much from its inception. And the story of LIMU is kind of unique because a lot of questions I get asked, and this is one that everybody in here is going to get asked at some point, is, okay, Trey, it's a 7-year-old company. Why haven't we heard about it? All right, it's down in Lake Mary, Florida, founded by a guy named Gary Racer, and I'll tell you Gary's story in just a minute. And part of the reason that I came to the company, what attracted me to the company, not being a big product guy, was the fact of not only Gary, but the team that he had surrounded himself with. And a lot of the industry is you have to, at some point, invest in that leadership. Because at the end of the day, that's really, you know, kind of my buy-in to the company. But, you know, LIMU was founded, and Gary has a long history in the industry as a distributor himself and as a owner of a company. But they launched back 7 years ago, and like many, Gary launched it from scratch. Started the company with 9,000 distributors, literally opened a door when he decided to do this, had a conference call and told a group of people that he knew and that trusted him, and just said, listen, I'm going to go do this, but I'm only going to do it with you. And so over the course of 3 or 4 days, they just started faxing in applications, and 9,000 people launched this company back then. First year out of the gate, rock star status, boom, straight to $10 million in revenue. They were on fire. And it was really all built around just this one product, the LIMU Original. That's what the company was founded on. It has a cool thing called Fucoidan in here. I'm not even going to try to explain it to you guys. Most of you don't care anyway. You're big network marketers. But the science behind the product, the science behind Fucoidan is probably just without a question, probably one of the biggest things that you'll find over time to be a benefit about what you're doing. And so Gary launched like that. 10 million the first year, 10 million goes to 25 million the second year, same things happened in the third year, and then just a number of things started to happen. One, there were some family issues there with Gary that kind of he had to go spend some time focusing on helping his family. And then we got into kind of that point in time where the economy started to change. All right, and so like for most companies, if you're spending, you know, when you have disposable income and people have the ability to think about preventative type stuff, then paying $20, $30, $40 a bottle for this kind of a product is not unreasonable. People would do it. As the economy started to slow down, what did end up happening? People started having to make choices. We talked about it earlier, and choices became, you know, can I afford the preventative or do I need to take care of paying the bills? Well, I need to take care of paying the bills. And Gary's also off now dealing with some stuff that he had going on. And so really what ended up happening, and this is the compliment to the company. That story that I'm telling you, all of a sudden in your mind you say, okay, they started off as a rocket ship and then some changes started happening. Here's the cool thing about it, guys. Year 4, 25 million. Year 5, 25 million. The company, even when most companies were shrinking, when people were signing off auto ships, the company continued to maintain its existing revenue. Why? This is a big point to talk about. Why? Because the product works. The products work, and people continued to buy the product even though they weren't necessarily having a major growth factor. Revenue didn't nosedive. They survived that period of time. And so about 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, Gary kind of gets refocused on his business, stabilizes what was going on in his personal life, and I don't mean personal life, he had an illness in the family that took his attention away. Like most of you, you know, if something happened to our family member, our kids or something, we go focus on that and try to help. And Gary was able to go do that. Financially, he was able to go do that. Cool thing about it, he had surrounded himself with a great management team that continued to run the company. Gary comes back into the picture, gets refocused on his company, and just looks at his company and says, you know what, guys, if we're going to take this to the next level, and he came back recharged, ready to go, he said, we've got to change. He tells a joke, which I love, it's just hilarious. He said he was standing on stage one time, he said, you know, I am a Buick. And all of a sudden I was looking out in the audience and there was a bunch of Buicks. All right? Well, a bunch of Buicks can't attract a Porsche. And if we want to go track the next generation of network marketers, they're not driving Buicks. And so his deal was, I've got to go out now and bring some new talent to get this company and kind of put a new spin on the company and relaunch it. And that's really where about 7, 8 months further down the road that I saw the company. He had gone out and hired some great people, and I will tell you that the existing core group of people that were there, the management team, Husto and Greg and all that group did a great job of maintaining where the company was. But then all of a sudden, he went out and found a guy named Ryan Barsons. And Ryan's unique in the fact that Ryan had been a part of the industry, and he had helped multiple 100 million plus network marketing companies go global. That was his expertise. Working in the field in association with leaders, but helping companies go global. And Ryan came on board as the Vice President of Business Development. And Ryan is not a Buick. Ryan was getting closer to that Porsche and had that image, had come from a very successful company. Ryan gets there and he says, you know what, guys, we've really got to go to the next level with our marketing, our sales, all of our tools that we have. And Ryan knew another gentleman by the name of Kerry Brown. And Kerry had, not only did Kerry have success in the marketing arena, but he had had a lot of success in the field as a distributor. He'd also owned his own company. And so he had been a part of a major global company going global, 100 million plus in revenue. And so all of a sudden now, about 2 years ago, these three guys come together and they start rebranding, refacing, so to speak, the company. And that's about a year ago when I saw the company. The only difference between what you see now, and by the way, if you haven't checked out the website, if you have not seen the videos, the caliber of the marketing material, the tools that these guys put together, it is by far, I mean, it's better than a lot of stuff you'll see in corporate America. I mean, they've got videos and tools you can use that would rival the stuff going on at Pixar. I mean, it's just amazing what they do. And so all of a sudden they started to get started in this thing. They started to reinvent themselves. They started to attract some more industry type people, and that's where we got involved with them, and we decided that, you know what, let's take this thing now to one more level. Gary just sat down and he said, I haven't spent 7 years of my life and millions of dollars investing in this company to now have to go all of a sudden become one of those could have been companies. He said, so we are going to literally, guys, and this is the story, this is where you're walking into this story. You have the opportunity to participate in a ground floor opportunity, but not have the risk associated with a startup, because Gary said, I'm going to stop the company, we're going to turn it 180 degrees, and we're going to relaunch it in a new platform that I think is going to be a paradigm shift and a complete change on the network marketing industry. And that's kind of where we are today. Gary, very simply, 25 years in the industry. In my opinion, and I believe I don't misstate this, is probably one of the top 20 all-time income earners in the network marketing industry. has been around it, understands it both from the distributor standpoint, promoter standpoint, but also understands it as an owner standpoint. And over the course of my dealing with these guys, I've never seen a team of people more willing to go out and invest in going to the next level than they have. That's obviously why we're here. That's the opportunity for you guys. Okay, so here's the opportunity. And when I say this, you guys are unique in the fact that you're hearing this as, September the 1st of this year, we launched the LIMU Experience. And why that means something to you, and I use this example, think about it this way. Everybody knows Apple, right? Obviously with what just recently happened, Apple's even more in the forefront. But when I look at the LIMU opportunity, when I look at leaders like you guys, it's like, all right, we all knew about companies that were successful, but we kind of didn't participate in them. Think about it like this. If you had the opportunity when Apple launched to buy stock in Apple when the Mac came out, all right, knowing what you know today, you would have done it, right? But none of us did. But if you did buy stock at that point in time, just threw it in the drawer, closed the drawer, you had a pretty successful stock, right? Fast forward 10 or 15 years down the road, all of a sudden the iPhone comes out and you get the opportunity to buy stock with the iPhone. It's still a great stock, right? But how much better was the stock back here when the Mac came out? Knowing what you know today, if I could tell you, you could go back and knowing what you know today, you could go back in time and buy Apple stock at the Mac. How many of you could find $500 to buy it? Everybody could, right? Well, that's kind of what I look at the LIMU Experience as. 7-year-old, debt-free, profitable company. Now all of a sudden we're looking back, knowing what we know. We get to go back in time as if we were there 7 years ago when they launched the company. We are at the beginning of the relaunch of this company. The opportunity for you guys is very simple. As we relaunch this, we are relaunching a team inside of this business. You guys are probably one of the first 300, 400, 500 people to see this opportunity up close and personal. But you're not taking the risk of seeing something that's a startup. You know, when people say startup, I say thank you, goodbye. I just won't do it. You can't take a team to a startup because if the startup works, everybody is happy. Startup doesn't work, you just led your whole organization to a dead dog that doesn't hunt. And so what we got to say is that we're going to relaunch a company, but we're relaunching it 7-year-old, debt-free, shareholder-free, $25 million in revenue. That was a pretty cool, safe bet. What the opportunity meant for you, if you looked at it this way, and I draw this picture because I think this is a cool picture to draw. If this is LIMU, and all of a sudden I said you get to relaunch a company and be a part of the initial deal, pardon the pun, that is a pyramid, okay, pardon the pun. But think about it this way. You're here in the beginning of the relaunch. You guys have all heard successful stories about the builders in the industry, whether it's Amway or whether it's somebody like that, the big names in the industry. Why were they able to build the wealth that they built? Because they were there when this happened and they stayed there long enough for it to build. But for you and I, we missed Apple when it launched the Mac. We missed LIMU when it launched. We weren't there. Cool thing for you right now is you get to relaunch. And here's the other cool thing, even more important for me, is that guys, we are creating a complete paradigm shift in the industry. Think about network marketing companies that you know. All right, just think about them in your mind for a second. How many of those companies could compete over the next 3, 4, 5 years with a company, debt-free, shareholder-free, debt-free and profitable since day one? Now, walk with me. Think about this. How many of those companies are going to be able to compete with a company who, number one's created a way to overcome what I call selling/recruiting, in the old school way of thinking about it, can get people their product for free, and now are creating a success model driving customers and converting mainstream America into the industry? How many old school companies can compete with that? None of them can. Why? Because they can't change. Their comp plans have been designed and so many people have gone through those tunnels that they can't change, nor are they really interested in changing. And so now all of a sudden 2 years from now, 3 years from now, if you're sitting there and you're recruiting 2 people, one of them's going to company A, old school, one of them's coming to LIMU, and the choice is go to old school, recruit old school style, pay for your auto ship and try to get people convinced with all that baggage that that company has, or company B, which is real simple. I got a way to get you in the business, get you started that doesn't sound like network marketing. Number two, I can get you your product for free. And number three, we're creating a lot of success and momentum over here. Which one are people going to go to? That's it. It's a complete paradigm shift on the industry. Cool thing for you guys sitting in the room, LIMU, you. That's what makes it make sense.